Well, hello everybody, and today we're taking a look at letters. So in this case, we want this letter here to move around a little bit. And how do we do about this? So this is what I want to introduce you to, with a blank slate with nothing in it. All right, so first we are going to all those steps, but we are going to create the following. So we want to create some kind of name, right? So we have like a thing, a 3D structure. So there is a script for that, how we can create this, but we need to have them obviously like we want to have them like in the X, Y's, right? So this is the X, this is the Y, and we have them just like laid out on the floor. So, and what then we also want to do is that those letters then also move up and down a little bit in the same way. So if you have Rhino 6, which you probably should have, then we have to just start with a very simple command, which is called text on surface. And it takes a few inputs that we need to take care of, but those are sometimes kind of redundant, but you need to give them inputs in order for them to work. So first one, text. Let's put this one in here. Then we have the font. You can obviously change the font that you want, depending on which font is on your computer. Then the height is at 1 at the moment, depth is 0.4. Now, we need to give it a baseline and a base surface. For that, we're going to create a rectangle like this, and we give it a boundary surface. Like that. Like this, base surface, What we also need to do, we need to get a basic line. So for this, we're going to create a line SDL, create a start point with an X, Y, Z construction point, and give it the X direction. And it has a base length. All right, as you see, we have the surface. It lines up exactly on that surface, but we obviously want it to be a bit more in the way that you want. For that, we need to basically change the base surface that we have here, and we have to change the line that basically comes in. Those things we can just hide very easily away, and with that we can obviously change the, as you see, as the line gets a certain distance, it will be actually just like the normal letters and not be squeezed in any way. Great. Now that we have that, I might also want to create more parameters around the height and maybe the depth as well. It's small. This. All right, that's great. Now that we have that, I want those characters to move up and down, right? How we talked about it before. So I am going to use the move command, and I have to have some kind of like animation kind of going on. So this, we're going to use like this graph here to go from animation 0 and 1. And we're going for this now into the Z direction. Obviously, you can adjust this any way you want. Obviously, right now it goes all into one direction, but what we want is to basically have different sizes in that as well. So we can create a range of numbers. This range of numbers should be corresponding to the amount of symbols that we have. Be careful though, if we have the length of 9, it will create 10 values. Thus, we need to reduce this by 1 in order for it to work correctly. The domain then can be also set by us as well. And then we have our range of different numbers like this. Now, we maybe also want this to be more, how do you say, less streamlined like this. So we can use the jitter command in order for it to randomize it this way, I guess, completely. We can also make the jitter more or jitter less in a way. This. And we also want this to be less extreme, so down a little bit. Make this one invisible. And we want it also maybe to be a range between the original and the one that we have set. So for that, we can use the expressions command. And if you have it set up like this, you maybe need to remove the variable like that so it can work correctly. But we also want to have a value between two things. So in this case, I want to have a value between this state and this state, and then also a value to control it. It would be actually animation that would be controlling it. So we have the input value of this, and then also the output value of that. And we're going to create the Y would be the animation. So what we're going to do here is I always want to have one value like this here and another value of the other one. And I want to basically this one to increase or remove the value of the initial one versus the generated one. So how would this look like? So I would create, so the initial input is the x we have, right? So let's say x times y plus the z times, and now it would be the absolute of y minus 1, right? So it would be always kind of like the opposite of that. So with that, if we then use this as the parameter here, you can basically switch between the irregular and the regular form back and forth. So we kind of already have the animation like that, but what we want further with that, we also need to have a Graphmapper that makes this a bit more like going from one place to the other. And for this, I just use the Gaussian curve, and I can use the Graphmapper with that. And with that, I always end up at the beginning as well. So you see, we're going to go from one up and then down again. Happens if I go more than one, and nothing really happens, right? So up, down. I just goes up all, up and down, up and down. Great. So then we have that. We might also want to create a kind of a visual around it. So we use the custom preview in that sense as well. And I want to use a very nice Bitcoin color that goes with it, like that. And I also maybe want to create a surrounding around the edges. For that, I am using the deconstruct BWrap tool. And I can then get the edges, which then will be like some curves that can be then further be used. So and then you can use from the plugin of align weights. You can either put the color in there, make like a black color in our case, like this, and you have it like nice and smooth already. Right, that's could be one thing of doing it with that, and then obviously if you change this around, you can still make that happening. But if you don't have human installed, then one workaround this would be if you use pipe commands. Take the edges of that. It will take a bit more longer to calculate, obviously, but low with this, take a radius like that. And then we can still use the material tab and create the same effect, even like a bit stronger actually, if you look at it like this. Yeah, great. And now that we have that, you can basically create an animation. So I want to do that one and go just with the basic one, make the thickness a bit more in that sense. Let's see if I can. Oh yeah, you can also make it absolute. So this might help actually with the visualization a little bit. Let's try to get a little bit more. Oh yeah, I can get it also around this. Okay. So let's change the settings now to a render preview here. So it's a bit more fancy like this. And now that we have that, I want to create the animation itself. So we go here on animation, animate, then put some kind of resolution there. This should be fine. Folder, test this, enter, and then it calculates the frames for you. And you see it is slowly moving. And now that we can do that, we can basically go to Easy GIF Maker, and we can choose our files that we've just created in the test folder. And hopefully I have them lined up correctly. Yes. Other stuff. The last one, because it's the same. Then we can upload it. And if your speed is kind of sufficient, you can obviously use any kind of uploading mechanism for PNGs or GIFs. But this one is like one of the easier ones, right? In the browser, we set some kind of frame delay, let's say 2, and then you can create a GIF out of there, which you can use in any kind of animation. So if you need it for somebody who wants to birthday present or anything, you have your little GIF coming out of here like this, smooth as everything. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. There are some other parts of the script that I want to also create, because there's this background here, there are tangles here going out of it. We can get this into like further script as well, but for this part, it could be the beginning. And from that, we can then continue in the next scripts. So with this one, have a good day and see you in the next one.